Hey, what's going on, my fellow idiots? Welcome back for another episode of Idiot Proof Cooking. So today I'm making a sheet pan pizza, and you might know it also as a granny pizza, and essentially it's a big slab pizza in a sheet pan. They're super easy to make. Now, I did make a sheet pan pizza for the channel back when I started, so like year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, and it was good, but I've definitely perfected my sheet pan pizza recipe since then, so I wanted to do a follow-up video to my original one, remake it, show you the improvements in the sheet pan pizza, and I guarantee you're gonna love this one if you like a super simple but delicious pizza. So let's get into making it. So we're first going to make the pizza dough in our stand mixer. So first add in 1 cup of warm water to the bowl of your stand mixer. I had mine heated to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And then add in 2 1/4 teaspoons of dry active yeast. From there, add in a pinch of white granulated sugar to feed the yeast and get it blooming. We're going to let it sit for 10 minutes to let the yeast foam up to make sure that it's still alive. After you've confirmed that your yeast is still alive, throw in 1 teaspoon of white granulated sugar and then 2 1/2 cups of bread flour into the bowl of the stand mixer. It goes. The next thing we're going to add in is some kosher salt, specifically 1 teaspoon of that. And then last but not least, we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So pour them in, and then it's time to mix this all together. So we're going to affix the dough hook attachment on our stand mixer, drop the head, and we're going to mix this all together for the next 7 to 10 minutes until we get a smooth and combined dough. Now this dough is going to be a little bit more tacky and hydrated, more than some of the pizza doughs we made on the channel, but not to worry. So scrape off the dough hook, get all of that dough off, and then I'm going to give you a quick shot here of what the consistency looks like. As you can see, it's more hydrated, it's going to be more tacky. So all we're going to do is flour our work surface and knead the dough in some extra flour just for like a minute or so. Now we're going to knead the dough by hand for 2 reasons. 1, to allow the dough to pick up some extra flour and make it a little bit less tacky, but then also more importantly to really work in that gluten structure to make sure it's nice and developed. Now what we're going to do to test the gluten structure is do the window pane test. So rip off a piece of the dough and you're going to stretch it in between your fingers, and you should be able to stretch the dough thin enough that you can see light through the dough without ripping it, hence the name window pane test. If you can see light through the dough, that means your gluten structure is nice and developed. So just reattach that piece of dough you ripped off and then form the dough into a nice taut ball, because it's time to let this rise. So get out a mixing bowl like the one I have here and let your daughter knead the dough a little bit too. But anyways, spray down your bowl with some olive oil or cooking spray and then throw the dough into the bowl. Swish the dough around so it gets covered in olive oil, and as you can see, Rose is definitely being helpful here. Give it another swish, and then we're going to cover the dough and the bowl in some plastic wrap because it's time to let this rise. We're looking for the dough to double in size. It typically takes 1.5 hours to 2 hours, so stick the bowl in a warm, dry spot and let the dough rise. Now, while the dough is rising, let's make the pizza sauce. So on a burner on a medium heat, throw in a couple tablespoons of olive oil into a pot and throw in 1 large white onion diced up pretty finely. All we're going to do is fry the onion for the next 3 to 5 minutes until it gets nice and soft and translucent. Once that's done, we're going to add in 2 to 3 cloves of freshly crushed garlic, so scrape off the mincer to get all that extra garlic in, and then just fry the garlic alongside the onion for a minute or so just to let it cook. Once the garlic has been cooked, we're going to then add in a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, and I like to stir it in with all of the onions and then just let it cook on a medium heat. It'll caramelize up a little bit over the next 1 to 2 minutes. Once that's done, we're going to add in a good shake of red pepper flakes, a tablespoon of dried basil, and a tablespoon of dried oregano, and then we're just going to mix these spices in with the caramelized tomato paste and the onions. As we can see here, we have got the workings of a pretty good pizza sauce. sauce, but we're not done yet. We have to add in a 28-ounce can of San Marzano tomatoes, and then to cut down on the acidity of the tomatoes, we're going to add in a tablespoon of white granulated sugar. I'm then going to add in a good pinch of kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper, and then from there it's time to mix this all together. Now I'm going to use my immersion blender, but you can use a food processor or a regular blender if you want, but you really want to just break up all of the San Marzano tomatoes and mix everything together until you get a nice smooth and combined and consistent pizza sauce like I have here. Now all we're going to do is let the sauce thicken up on a medium heat on your burner for the next half an hour or so, but it already smells amazing. Look at that. Okay, so now that the pizza sauce has been dealt with, let's talk about the sheet pan to make the sheet pan pizza. I'm using an 18 by 13 inch sheet pan, and we're going to want to spray it down pretty liberally with some olive oil for the crust, so like that it doesn't stick to the sheet pan. Now get out your pizza dough that has been rising. As you can see here, mine has doubled in size, and it's time to start spreading this out on the sheet pan. So deflate the dough and then scoop it out of the bowl and throw it down on your sheet pan. Now what you're going to find is that the dough is going to fight you when you're trying to stretch it out, and that's because the glutens need to relax. So stretch out the dough as best you can. It's not going to stretch out all the way, so just cover the sheet pan in either some plastic wrap or another sheet pan and let the dough and the glutens relax for the next half an hour, and then hit the dough with the one sheet pan there. But anyways, go back to your dough and try and stretch it out to all four sides of the pan. You might find that the dough is still fighting you, and if that's the case, you've got to let the glutens relax a little bit more. So just cover the pan back up and let your dough rest for another 20 to 30 minutes. So that's what I've done here. After another 30 minutes, it's back to the dough, and as you can see, it's definitely more receptive to being stretched out to all sides of the pan. You really just got to let the dough and the glutens relax, and then it'll be super easy to stretch the dough out to all four sides of the pan. So after you've stretched your dough out, it's time to get out your pizza sauce that you've cooked. Look at that. And we're going to throw a liberal amount of the sauce onto our pizza dough here, making sure to leave a crust along all four sides of the dough. Obviously you want something to hold on to when eating your pizza. And then we're going to throw on a liberal amount of shredded low moisture mozzarella. Make sure the pie is covered all the way around, again making sure to leave a crust, and then you can throw on whatever toppings you want. I'm pretty simple for my sheet pan pizza. I'm just going to throw on a ton of pepperonis. Last but not least, I'm going to grate on some fresh Parmesan. Give a good liberal amount of that on top of your pizza. From there, preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit and bake this for the next 15 to 18 minutes, and I would suggest rotating it halfway through until you get a pizza looking like this. Oh yeah, that is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Look at those pepperonis. Look at the awesome crust. It's got great color on it. Here, let me give you a close-up shot. Oh man, that is awesome. Now, like everything we make on this channel, we gotta let it cool down for a couple of minutes. It's piping hot, fresh out of the oven. I'm gonna let the pizza cool down for about 10 minutes before cutting into it. All right, here we go. One more close-up shot, because that is an amazing looking pie. I am so excited to taste test this one. All right, and speaking of which, let's pull the pizza out of the sheet pan and get into cutting it. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna cut it into squares. I mean, that's what you typically would do with a sheet pan pizza. You're not gonna cut out slices so much as just squares of pizza. And let's go with a corner piece. Look at that undercarriage. Look at the color on that. Look at it's crispy. It doesn't have any flop. This is a perfect sheet pan pizza. Oh man, that is gorgeous. Gorgeous, and it smells so good. So let's stop beating around the bush. Let's go in for the taste test. And besides the fact that it was super hot, this was delicious. Oh man, this was so good, and it was super easy to make. Normally I'm a big fan of cold fermenting my dough for a couple of days in the fridge, but you know what, this turned out perfectly with dough that was only 2.5-3 hours old. It was so good, and Rose was a fan. It was a little hot for her, so she just had a small bite, but she quite liked it, and JP liked it, and so did Meg. Oh man, I hope you enjoyed this episode, because I sure enjoyed making this pizza. And if you did like the episode, please drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. Oh, there's JP. Thanks again for watching Idiot Proof Cooking, and we'll see you again next time.